This is my 26th speech urging all of us to extend the wind production tax credit. It's known simply as the PTC in an abbreviated form. It's going to expire in 4 weeks, less than 4 weeks, actually, and if we don't extend it, I'm so worried about what's going to happen to this important industry. It's created good-paying, middle-class jobs in the wind energy industry, and not only my own state. I have a bias about my own state, but all across the nation. Almost every state has a stake in the wind energy industry. And if you think about what the PTC has done, it's also stimulated the growth of our clean energy economy, and it's also promoted energy security. And the presiding officer serves on the Armed Services Committee. She knows the importance of energy to national security. We have 75,000 jobs in the wind industry right now in Colorado, and we're on track to produce 20% of our electricity through the wind by harvesting the wind by 2030. But if we let the PTC expire, estimates suggest we would lose half those jobs. We'd be down to 37,000 jobs. And then we also undermine our pursuit of energy security, of true energy security. And our inaction, although the tax credit hasn't expired, has halted further development in the wind energy industry because that set of leaders can't, in good faith, bring that capital to bear and make those investments if they think that the wind PTC will truly expire. And we've seen those negative impacts. We've had hundreds of layoffs in Colorado. The business is nearly ground to a halt, and you see that all over the country. Then you get a ripple effect on those communities because tax receipts go down, people aren't as upbeat about the future, and it's just a downward spiral that we have to end. And we should be doing everything we can coming out of this tough economic recession, the Great Recession, to make strategic investments in our economy and in our energy portfolio. So with that general outline of what we face, I want to turn to the state of Maine today. And we both, the presiding officer and I, have great respect for both the Maine senators. We're going to miss Senator Snowe, and Senator Collins has been a strong supporter as well. Maine's well positioned to become a major player in the wind energy industry going forward. It has the potential for significant economic development and environmental benefits for Maine. In 2011, wind energy provided 2.9% of the Pine Tree State's power. And Maine's wind farms power the equivalent of about 100,000 homes. And the outlook for their wind energy industry is bright. The state has another 34 megawatts of wind power under construction and enough untapped potential, Madam President, to power 3 times the state's current electricity needs. So 3 times their needs could be powered by harvesting all the wind resource that's there. So I don't have to say, but I will, that the PTC is crucial to their continued growth and the capacity they have to tap into their available wind resources. Now, Maine, of course, has a vast interior, but it also is on the coast. And so right now it's New England's leading land-based wind producer. And experts predict that it could become the leading offshore wind producer in the coming years. University of Maine has a center. It's called the Advanced Structures and Composites Center, and their research and development is paving the way for this additional offshore development. Now, there's also a expiring tax credit called the Investment Tax Credit, the ITC, and that provides additional incentives, and the ITC will be vital to the growth of offshore and distributed wind power developments as well. And it's also at risk, and we need to include the discussion of the ITC as we consider an extenders package. So I've mentioned, Madam President, what wind projects do is they really lift local economies. The presiding officer has a lot of rural economies in the north and the west of New York, a lot of agricultural-based economic activity, and wind power, when it's properly developed, is a cash crop that always comes in. And when we face, again, the consequences of this economic slowdown, wind power has really helped a lot of local economies have additional revenue, economic activity, and jobs. And I wanted to in that context in Maine, talk about the Bull Hill Wind Project. It's in Hancock County, down here on the coast. And I think that's called Down East if you're in Maine. That project is just completed. It's going to generate $100,000 annually in tax revenue, and it supported about 100 jobs during the peak of the construction. That's a significant number of jobs in a rural county in a state like Maine. Now, I have to put a pitch in for Colorado. This project uses wind turbines which are made by Vestas, which manufactures blades, nacelles, and towers in Colorado. And much like in Colorado, the production tax credit creates and sustains manufacturing jobs, and it's creating growth in Maine. I know we've got some job numbers here that I'm going to share with you in the manufacturing sector. There are 4 facilities in Maine that produce components for the wind energy industry and the installed wind projects across the state that I've alluded to. And those jobs number about 500 manufacturing jobs. And speaking of tax payments, property tax payments, about $6 million comes in from those wind projects to local governments. And that money helps infrastructure improvements and other vital services for local Maine communities. So it's obvious that the growth of our domestic wind energy industry, aided by the wind production tax credit, has helped create jobs, encouraged energy security, and grown a clean energy economy in Maine and all across our country. So Madam President, it's really that simple. The wind energy PTC, it powers good-paying, middle-class jobs. And, however, if we don't extend it, it's a bipartisan policy, by the way, and the father of the wind PTC is our own Senator Grassley from Iowa. If we don't extend this, we're going to lose thousands of jobs at a time where the economy is still in balance. That's just not acceptable. It can't happen in Maine, can't happen in Colorado, shouldn't be happening to thousands of families across our country. So it's simple. The PTC equals jobs. We need to pass it ASAP. Let's work together. Our inaction is stunting the growth of a 21st century clean energy economic opportunity for us. Those jobs are not necessarily going to be lost if we don't do what we should do, but they're going to go to places like China, Europe. The world is investing in big numbers in wind energy because of all the possibilities for economic development. So let's, in sum, remember the production tax credit equals jobs, the PTC equals jobs. Let's pass it as soon as possible. Time is running out. The clock is ticking.